You might have noticed in some past videos that I've done that I had a lot of segmented rings hanging behind me up here. And I've decided to take them all down and see if I can't find a combination of these to make something instead of just hanging around up there. I've got all kinds of them. I've got real big rings, I've got smaller rings, I've got big thick rings, although this is one from when I was doing cookie jars a while ago. I don't think I'll be doing that again. I got real thin ones. This one's only 3/64 of an inch. Guess it'd be good for an accent ring maybe somewhere. I've got all kinds of wood. I've got elm, cherry, maple, walnut, bloodwood, padauk, and others. There's even a ring of bubinga here. It might make a nice accent ring. I've got combinations, birch and walnut, bloodwood and maple, all kinds of things here. So I'm going to go through this and see if I can't come up with something to make a decent little something. I don't know if it'll be a bowl or what, but I'll go through here, try to stack something up together, and I'll be back to show you. Well, as you can probably see, I've still got a few rings hanging up there. And this is going to be one of the weirdest looking bowls, I think, ever. I just took a whole bunch of rings that I think will fit well enough that I can turn something. If I can not tip this all apart, you'll see that the inside is going to be a little tough to get any kind of a smooth contour to it. There are 11 rings to this. There's one here that actually has 3 layers, so I guess you could say it's a lucky 13. See how that goes. So I'm going to get this glued up, and I hope you'll stick around and we'll see what happens with this bowl. I have to do a floating ring in the bottom, so I'll be back. I use a one-way live center, and for that live center I purchased an adapter. It's just called a live center adapter. And it threads onto the live center, and then the male threads match whatever spindle size you have. In my case, it's the 1¼ inch by 8 TPI. And then I have made this block. It's got a dome on it. It's threaded. I used a spindle tap to do that. If you're interested in how to do that, I'll put a link down below in the description box to a video I did on how to use the spindle tap. Now this is going to be the bottom, the base of the bowl. It's going to go on here. I'll use that dome to center it, best of my ability. It's looking pretty good right there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is run a good sized bead of hot glue all the way around on the outside. My one bit of trepidation is the fact that I have changed to a different type of hot glue, which may have been a mistake, but I could not find the type I used to use. And this was literally a bargain brand, so I'm not sure just how much faith I should put in it. Last time I used some of this, the one problem I had was actually removing it from the wood. Previous brand I used, I could use isopropyl alcohol, which broke it down very quickly and effectively, and I could scrape it off with ease. This particular brand didn't work that well, at least the one time I tried it. So whether I can put a lot of faith in this glue here, I don't know yet. I guess this will be a test of that. I'll finish gluing this on here and I'll be right back. The glue has had plenty of time to set now. This is going to be the second ring, but before I put that on, I want to put a floating disc in here. This is it. It's going to set right in there, so I'm going to make a recess this size to accommodate that. And this area I'm going to remove entirely because I really like the grain in this and I want to show it off in there. So I'll use a parting tool to remove this, and then to make the recess for this disc 3/8 of an inch thick to sit in there. That should work perfectly. All right, I'm going to glue this in now. I'm going to use just a small bead of glue, not even a bead really, just a drop of glue on the end grains in 2 points. Make sure that it's centered, and then after that it can expand across the grain if it needs to, and then I'll be back. I have that disc glued in there now, just on the ends of the grain, so this can expand. And what I'm going to do now is put a bead of glue around here carefully so that I don't get any dripping down in there and gluing the whole disc in place. I've taken the next disc and carefully drawing across the center of every fourth of the segments. Those are going to be lined up, they're drawn on both sides, lined up with every fourth joint on here to get that centered. Once I have that centered, and I'll do that while it's up here so I can look underneath and see how it's done, I'll put these discs on top so I can use them to force this down and make sure that it's glued in place. I'll do every ring that way until I get most of the bowl put together, then I'll come back and do some of the turning. So let me do some of this gluing and I'll be right back. I have all the rings glued up except the top one, and I have a little problem with that. On my glue press, I have a maximum opening of 14 inches. This is 14.5 inches, and it overhangs all the way around by about 1 inch. I could take a 1/2 inch off each side and slide it in there and use the glue press, but I might want to shape this with a bit of a trumpet opening. I haven't decided on that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down. I have marked it so that I've got the 4 quadrants here, and I have chosen 4 opposing points 90 degrees apart to set down on there. Now another thing, this top ring is 48 segments, not just 16 like the rest of them. So now I should be able to put that down on there, put the glue in between the 2 pieces, and let it sit there for a little while, and then clamp it down. Now I'm just going to try to hold it still right here for 10 or 15 seconds. That's usually enough to get the glue to start to set. All right, I'm going to hope that's going to be long enough there to hold that. Maybe a little natural edge wood will bring me some luck here. I think that should just about do it. I'll be back. Well, it's been an hour. Let's see what happens here. All right. The glue on the inside, because no air's been circulating, is still pretty wet. So I'm going to let that dry for a little while. Then we'll take it over to the lathe and see how true this is going to run and start turning it. I want to point out one thing before I take this over to the lathe. Usually when I do a segmented bowl, I draw it up. I use pencil and paper and I try to make things symmetrical. Most of these rings are 3/4 of an inch thick. Same on this one. And on this one, I didn't give any thought to that at all. Everything was done simply at random, picking them off the hangers up there. And I've got everything from 3/4 of an inch thick down to probably a little over 1/8 of an inch thick and everything in between. So this could be interesting. I just did this to see what I'd come up with and clean up some of that space up there. So now let's go over to the lathe and see what happens. I'm using my 3/8 inch bowl gouge, turning at 1000 RPM. Just going to start on the inside. Going to switch to my 1/2 inch gouge now. Try to see if I'll get a little less vibration with this heavier shank. All right, from here in, the shape of this is going to be somewhat dictated by the different widths of these different rings. Not looking too bad here at all. It's time to start bringing this in. I think I will do from here to the top on the outside as well. Once this gets thinner and I lose some of that mass, this might tend to vibrate more. So now I'll find out if I can do any kind of a bugle shape on the top here, or a trumpet shape if you prefer. Back to my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. I like these swept back wings a little more. That's pretty nice. I like when I get these angel hair shavings coming off of there. I'm gonna move the camera and see what I can do about coming around to the back side here. This is where it could get a little tricky. This isn't that thick to start with. To come around here and get a curve, I may have to resort to my 1/4 inch bowl gouge when I get in here. But I'm going to stick with my 3/8 for now. I'm going to switch to my 1/4 inch bowl gouge now, try to get around in this area better, creating an arc. In order to do that, I had to put my banjo on the headstock side of the top of the bowl. I'm using my smaller 4-inch tool rest, and I've got it as close as I can to try to take any vibration off of this smaller shank. 1000 RPM again. Alright, that seems to have cleaned up that whole glue line. Just going to shear scrape this area a little bit, make it a little cleaner before I sand. Then I'll move this, continue down here a bit. Alright, that's about as good as I'm going to get with the tool. In this area, the rest will be sanding, so now I'll start to turn from here down. That's better. Alright, time to go back to the inside of the bowl for a while. Alright, it's not looking too bad up to that point. I'm very lucky that I have 2 banjos, so I won't have to take the bowl off when I move this again. Now my worry at this point is that because I didn't draw this up, I don't really know what the width of these different rings are. So I have to do some measuring, see how I can sneak up on this. Appears to be lots of room there. Still at least 7/16 of an inch thick. That's what this is set at. All right, I think the inside's ready for sanding. I'm going to sand all this and then I'll work on the outside. Well, I think that's looking pretty darn good. I've used Axe abrasive paste and polishing pastes on the inside along the top and on the outside down as far as this walnut ring. I'm going to put the cameras over on the other side now and finish turning the outside. A bit of shear cutting makes quite a difference. All right, I'm going to sand from here down and put that same finish on down to this point. Then I'm going to take this off and hopefully reverse it into my cold jaws. I believe it's small enough to just barely fit. So I'll be back after this finishing is finished. Well, I think the outside is just as beautiful as the inside now. And what I've done is put the cold jaws on the top of the bowl I've got the coal jaws on my live center adapter, which is on the live center. The live center is in the tailstock, and the tailstock is putting pressure against it. So when I turn this glue away, I am hoping that the bowl will just stick onto this faceplate and not move. We'll see. Now, because it's coal jaws, I've got the speed turned down to 500 RPM. The rated for 600, but that should be enough just to take this glue off. Yeah, it looks like it's going to come right off of there now. There we are. All right. It's reversed now. I've brought the tailstock up for a little support in case this should come loose somehow. Now what I want to do is finish turning the bottom. On the bottom here, widen that opening just a little bit, put my logo coin in, put on the finish, and it will be complete. Well, there it is, finished. I did take a little more off of here that I didn't record because it was just way too chunky looking. I think this improved it a little bit. And I don't think it's too bad for taking a bunch of basically scrap rings off of the hangers and putting this together. I'm quite pleased with it. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, click the like button. Let me know I'm doing something right. I hope you'll come back next time. And between now and then, have a great day in your shop and be safe. Thanks for stopping in. You take good care now. Bye-bye.